So I will ask you like right out the bat, like will AI steal our jobs? Like how disruptive are we talking right now?
Roman, I love this question because, first of all, it's a question that I think a lot of us have in mind, and that I've seen a lot in social media lately. Um, there's no simple yes or no answer to that. If I were to actually just answer it out of the bat, I would say maybe.
We're here talking about some latest stuff, latest development in 3D with my friend here, Manuel. Um, Goes by Manuel Senzili. You can find him on socials as Manuvision, and he's a part of Polygon Runway community for some time now. But I won't do like a full introduction here. So basically, I would just like to ask you if you could like tell something about yourself, what you do.
Perfect. So I'm starting by saying that during the day, I'm a UX XR design manager at Unity in the digital twins department, playing a lot with XR. I'm leading a team of awesome designers. And that's what I do for a living. That's what brings money also to the table. And at night, when the duty of the job disappears, I'm a hobbyist, I'm an artist, I'm a freelancer. And that is on multi-platform, multi-mediums, including traditional art, but also digital art. And obviously, I think about 5 to 4 years ago, I had a huge moment of wondering where would my career continue after graphic design to UX design. And it felt like, especially as a gamer and people that have been working with CGI for a while, I wanted to learn 3D from scratch. I wanted to be able to incorporate 3D into my work. So I started learning 3D on C4D. The program was a little bit complex to learn at the beginning. It's not too hard, but I felt that it wasn't exactly my style of tool. Then I discovered Blender, which was free, which was a bit more accessible. Had a huge revamp in their UI. It was coming up after the 2.7, I think. And I felt like, okay, it was a good time to come back to Blender and actually try to tame the beast. And at the same time, I was very interested into low poly style. I'm a huge fan of cell shading and video games that are a bit more minimalist. And I came across, the Polygon Runway channel, and that's where I was like, this guy is making exactly what I would love to learn. So I started subscribing to the courses, following on Instagram all the content you were making at the beginning. And it felt like I was joining a cult because everybody was just very helping each other, super amiable. There's a Slack channel, there's a Discord channel now. But at the very beginning, everybody was really, just like sharing everything and all the knowledge that they have. And I'm a teacher too. I love to, create content, tutorials, educate people. So it just felt right to be part of that community and to learn from everyone. So this is what I do now. I'm trying to always stay, I would say, at the forefront of technology. I call myself sometimes a futurist. It's also a brand that I have, but it's not the abuse term where people just I'm a futurist. That's not the call. For me, it's more about being future friendly, being able to accept new technology, to be at the edge of it, and to try to push the boundaries of what you can make with it as an artist. So I would say 3D now, to answer your question, is incorporated into my daily work because during the day, even when I work as a design manager, we have to make real-time 3D content or tools for creators. And being able to understand 3D, to know what is a gizmo, to understand the depth axis on the Z, to be able to, manage spatially your interface and not just flat on 2D screens like I used to, really brings my work to another level. It can allow me to understand better the metaverse per se, which is content that is a bit more spatial, that is around the user. Then you can have audio that is spatialized, you can have haptics feedback, you can have visuals that are in different layers. And this, when you can master that, can help elevate anything that you do. And especially with AR and VR, it's important for me with augmented reality and virtual reality to understand 3D.
Yeah, that's super cool. Sounds super cool, at least. So basically, you're trying to, hold the finger on the pulse of the technology, trying to learn every new bit that comes along, and to dissect it a little bit, understand it, and try to incorporate it into your daily workflows. or at least like being aware that there is some technology or something that you need to be aware of and you need to account for.
Well
um
said.
but what we are actually here today, we wanted to do this talk for several weeks now, because there is this like a general scare, a little bit. I hear it from the community. I see it, in the comment sections, because we have like at least past several months, there's this huge trend of all these, artistic AIs or artistic AI tools rising up and taking over the news. So I will ask you like right out the bat, like, will AI steal our jobs? Like, how disruptive are we talking right now?
Roman, I love this question because, first of all, it's a question that I think a lot of us have in mind, and that I've seen a lot in social media lately. Um, there's no simple yes or no answer to that. If I were to actually just answer it out of the bat, I would say maybe. And I try to answer that question by turning the perception in a different way. For example, when we think about technology as a whole, there has been a lot of specific moments in humanity where a new technology has been introduced, and when people have had to either adapt or change the way that they used to make stuff to accommodate for this new technology because now the possibility was available. One example is, cars. When cars happened, people started to, move in different ways. So communication system had to adapt to that. Photography is also a good example, especially when it comes to art, because at a time, painters were becoming very, very good at making super realistic paintings. And that was a way for people to travel, to be able to see some places that they've never been to by purchasing a very specific niche painting of very talented painter. But obviously, once the first photograph and camera appeared, and I'm not talking about the one that are super small and compact, but the first one where you had to put like a black drape and
Yeah.
people had to pose for 45 minutes in the same face, until
Yeah,
someone
put
was
the
ready
plate
to
in.
push the powder. Exactly. That was still an elite tool that not everybody had access to. It was still kind of not very inclusive. Like you had to be either rich or to know someone to be able to have access to that, and then to understand how to practice and use it, transport it where you want it, and take photos with it. It was not easy. But just seeing the results of it had a huge impact on population. People starting asking, "What is this? Creation of the devil? You're not supposed to capture the soul." Things like that. There was a lot of mystification around the tool, and obviously people that used to make a living out of painting started to fear for their revenue and be able to say, like, if this becomes more broad, at some point people will stop paying for my painting. And they were right. At a certain layer, some people started pivoting from consuming paintings to consuming more photo, but it didn't kill painter. And photography was later continuing to evolve and became more and more small and mobile and compact until everybody has that in their pocket now. And
Yeah, but
you can
maybe
ask yourself,
maybe it
yeah,
killed some.
it did. And let me answer that by saying that once everybody had, a camera in their iPhone and were able to take photos, it didn't immediately transform everybody into photographer, but it did make photography accessible to more people. And people that used to rely on the previous art form, which was painting, didn't disappear neither, but a lot of them might have. And the question would be to ask yourself, how can I remain a painter in an era of photography? Is the same question of how can I remain a digital artist in an era of AI art? And to me, that's by embracing the new technology, to understand it, to educate yourself on it more until you're able to maybe take some of its advantages and bring it into your current workflow. But it doesn't mean that you need to all of a sudden become an AR artist or to use AI every step of your way or to absolutely create content with AI from now on. I just mean by that that you need to be aware of it so that it doesn't completely eliminate your current value as an artist.
Yeah, maybe let's continue directly with this topic. Like, um what's what are the possible ways of an artist for example, like if you're, let's say you're an asset creator, you're creating, asset packs, that right now aren't really like at risk because there are not yet tools that would, produce like production level quality meshes and stuff like that. But let's say, yeah, let's say you're a texture artist. I would be really worried if I were like a texture artist or a texture marketplace after I saw like some of these, AI texture generators where you just put a prompt directly in add-on in Blender, and it just, suddenly
Generate.
there's a texture for you. Sometimes it's not perfect, but like it's learning, and it will get better and it will evolve, and at some point it will be almost perfect, for the like majority of use cases. So yeah, let's say I'm a texture artist. So like what would be the possible way to, you know to think about this, or where to look for the possible ways to pivot, or change
That's a great question.
your model of work?
Yeah, for sure. I think I see also that as a workflow timeline. So, you know how we say that before you start making something, there's always a phase of ideation. And I think you do a great job at that, for example, with your newsletter, when we get to see, the behind the scenes before you start presenting the 3D output. You do some sketches on your iPad. You do a lot of curation and mood board and looking into Pinterest and other profile and websites. And then you come up with your unique new idea based on your inspiration that you have. And then you come up with your concept when you start creating in Blender. But usually people that follows you, maybe they don't have access to, everyone doesn't probably follow the newsletter. And most of them, they probably just see, like the workflow in Blender, whether it's a time lapse of a tutorial, or they see the output and like, oh my God, this Roman guy is really good with ideas. And the reason is no one questions your inspiration or your creativity when that happens, even though they know that, you take your inspiration from what you consume, from the media you
Yeah,
consume,
sure.
the people you follow. That's because it's normal for an artist to be inspired first. I think AI positions itself less at the execution phase, but more at the ideation phase in its current state. And you're right that, and I wouldn't even say it will take long. Maybe in the couple months or years, we'll get to a point where it's so good at the output that there is almost no clear distinction between what was made by a human and what was made by AI. So it's really relevant to ask that question right now and not think that it will take a lot of time. It might even be some tools right now in alpha or beta being able to produce that at that level. The question is, like you said, if I'm someone that is making this type of content right now, how can I profit from AI without being threatened by it in a sense? And I think that's by understanding which part of your workflow you're trying to serve. If I'm a texture artist, I'm probably going to spend a lot of time researching, thinking about what are people going to need or buy, or what production material people are looking for right now that I could design and create to make for them. So there is a phase of research, and I'm probably spending a lot of time looking at other asset packs that are already existing, looking at concept artists that I know and that I love, maybe consuming content on Netflix or Hollywood, to see new movies and get inspired by them. And a lot of texture artists are not even inspiring themselves from real life. They're also, imaginary and sci-fi. But a lot of people are starting to incorporate certain things that they don't know it's AI, but they incorporate already there into their workflow. For example, photogrammetry, taking photos and transforming them into textures. That's using AI. You're using computer vision, you're using algorithm, you're using research databases. You're able to transform the materials and breaking them down into NPR materials and all the different level of textures. So at the end of the day, if you're able now using AI, let's say, to generate concepts, to be able to create variations from one idea that you had and have more, yes, your output now has the help of AI, but what you're actually doing is conversating with yourself and creating better. You still have to create, like, for example, I create 4,000 to 5,000 images per day using AI. That's a lot. I'm not posting all of them on the internet because most of them are actually not good. There's still a work of a human eye to go through that data set and filter it down to what I would actually create and keep. And then, like you said, it's probably, if it's for a model, a 3D object or something, it's probably not ready for, like high poly count or being, I would say, done well enough to be able to put into AR filter because they will have a maximum limit of 8 megapixels of content. So I still need to curate to adapt my work, regardless of if I'm using AI. My entire workflow is not replaced. But the part where I was maybe wasting a lot of my time or spending a lot of my time is now immensely reduced, allowing me now in the same time frame to spend more time on the execution, on the iteration, on the testing. So some people are doing AI to just, create content, low quality. They don't care about the output. They might just create like an NFT scheme by making AI create 5,000 pieces and then selling those 5,000 pieces. I think this is where it's wrong because, and no offense to those doing that, but you're just taking one output and then exporting the output right away without putting any type of thinking into it. Maybe just for money grabbing, and that's maybe the thinking. But again, that from an artistic perspective, there is no input human. But if you now use AI to help you do a better mood board, to replace your Pinterest and to have maybe some more specificities in your data set, and that in your iteration process, it allows you to be more precise about what you're going to create and to find novel ideas. I think there's nothing wrong about that. I think you should start doing it more and then show the world that if you're a texture artist, then your textures will be the best because everybody's going to start making textures now thanks to AI. But not everybody will have the same level of quality and care in their process. Someone that has been doing that for a while will be able to provide better quality.
Yeah, but like on a consumer level, if the tool gets really good and the model is trained well, and basically it can cover like 80-90% of your needs at all times directly in software you're using, like you're just splashing generated textures on your objects, that's like so huge advantage apart from like downloading and curating materials from a marketplace, even like instead of doing search, doing prompt is a huge advantage at itself. So at a consumer level, like why would I continue, for example, a texture subscription if there is a tool that can handle 80% of my needs, or 85, 90, and then the rest I would probably compromise rather than stick to the old ways, if there is a tool that really serves me well.
I think for the example that you're giving, it's very similar to what we're already seeing how impacting on the stock business market. People using stock photos are stopping, paying for their subscription on Shutterstock or whatever other platform that they are using because they can just generate good enough content through AI. And when it will be perfect enough, then people will completely pivot to that. But the people that were paying usually for Shutterstock, that doesn't mean that they couldn't take great photos in their real life. That's probably because the photo that they wanted is something that either will be time consuming to generate, to create by themselves, or to find. The Shutterstock subscription provide them time, basically. I'm paying for time. So if AI allow you to do that same thing faster, then yes, people will start paying for AI tool subscription instead of for a Shutterstock one. And AI tool like Substance, Stable Diffusion, is more accessible now because it's free. But if you're someone making production content, not for personal use, you're probably not using a free AI tool. You're probably paying for something like OpenAI, which can be quite expensive. And the curation process of going through your prompts, generating, testing, and finding your best photos will probably end up being a bit more expensive than what you're getting right now with Shutterstock. So that there is still a job into curating. There's still a job into putting that into an asset pack and selling it. So if I was right now making asset packs, I would probably make more asset packs at a lower price with more diversity of content using AI and still my current skills. And then as things evolve and as AI is becoming more and more interesting and faster to use, then I would try to appeal to a crowd that is not necessarily fluent at using the AI or finding what they want using the AI by being the person that can then curate a style or that can provide a certain style. Some people making texture packs are very niche, very specialized into one cool thing. You can use Dream Boost, for example, to train an AI model with your personal style and start making more of that. And people that follows you, why do they follow just you? There's so many people making art and making textures. That's probably because they like what you do. They either like your value as a company, or they like your way of sharing on social media, or they like your particular style. So if they are there, they might stick with you if you're transparent about how you can provide more value to them. And I think that tells a lot about the customers and the consumer more from the creator. A lot of companies right now are starting to cut their business and fire people in their artistic team because they're like, why would I continue to pay 80 level designers when I can just have 5 of them and then a super powerful AI tool? To me, that tells more about the business model of this company and how they represent the value of human beings than the fear that AI can replace their job. Because regardless of what we do, it's here to stay and will
Yeah.
continue to evolve.
Yeah, there was actually one very interesting thing that you said about like training training a style for the AI.
Yes,
Like that might be like right away a potential way how to pivot right away when you have something unique, when you're in a niche, and you have a huge gallery of some work, whether you are a concept artist or texture artist or whatever your output might be, or an illustrator, for example, where you have the final renders is your output, is your bread and butter. Then you could try to develop your own tool basically based on some of these open source systems and train your own models and basically offer your audience, your fans, your customers a subscription based service where they get your style built in, trained into an AI model that would help them, maybe prototype, ideate a little bit quicker, with
yes,
still you at the end as a final executor, for example, but there could be like a middleware subscription contact point between you and the
exactly.
customer, so that's something that's very interesting, maybe
People
for
are
the
already
people out
doing this,
there.
by the way. The example you just gave, I've seen a lot of 3D artists using Blender doing that pivot from, fully, the end to end to the middleware business model. And I think it's working. People are actually, buying their stuff and actually continuing to support those artists because they see the trend also pivoting. I think the place that we need to address at the same time in this kind of debate is the fear and I would say the hate. Because obviously on social media, especially behind the anonymity cover, it's easy to just, provide your feedback and have very strong opinions about things. I'm not going to address, the toxicity on platform like Twitter or YouTube comments because that's not something we can really control at all level of creation. But you can choose to maybe turn off those input from the people that actually follow you. You can choose to consume maybe less media that are just trying to sell you one way of seeing things, and instead educate yourself, go read some research paper, actually conversate with other AI people that are using AI in their work, artists or researchers, and see how that these tools evolving, join maybe communities of people that are using these tools in a more positive way, because then you will attract a crowd that is actually more appealing to your audience, that will probably allow yourself to pivot easier without all the, I would say, the noise that is around the negativity around it. It doesn't mean that the people that are afraid are in the wrong. That's not what I meant. Because it's true, like it's a real threat. It's a real thing that is happening to all of us. But it's how you choose to, answer to that threat that tells a lot about you. Fear is only a construct of your mind. It's not a real emotion. It's something that is a reaction. The reaction only comes after the
Yeah.
cause. So if you see the cause now and you're able to really think about it in a way that could be optimist, then you have the choice to react in an optimist way. And I'm telling you from experience, all the people that have done that have done good for themselves so far because they are embraced by the community that help them. So I think that's the good message to keep.
Let's get practical a little bit. Like I always try to think, like right now and 3 to 5 years from now. Like let's focus
Yes.
on those points. Like right now, um, what are the things that AI certainly cannot do at this moment, or rather, you can see them as a biggest challenge that might
Yep.
be also a biggest breakthrough if it's solved?
Mhm.
Like what was the stuff that AI really struggles right now, and maybe it's like most desired? And like if there are for example, companies that actually use AI generated imagery in their like actual corporate outputs in the real world. Like it's not only like a company stunt, like, yeah, we have an app, no, we have a AI generated campaign and we're cool. Like not things like that, but like actual real use cases.
Perfect. And I guess that would be one of our last questions, because we still want to make this
Sure.
a short
We're
podcast.
quite
But
deep into
to
it
make
already.
it, but I love those discussions. And again, thank you for the opportunity to just have that stage where we can talk about it, because that's what I love. In terms of what AI is bad at right now, fingers. If you try to generate hands, most likely you're not going to get amazing results. And it's getting better at it by looking at more data sets focused on it. But the reason is AI is not really good with numbers, counting things. For example, if you look at Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or OpenAI, DALI, any of the AI tools right now, try to do something around composition and it's going to fail miserably. If you ask for a red sphere and a blue cube, and you ask for specific things like a blue sphere on top of a red cube, most likely you're going to get results where sometimes the sphere is red, the sphere is blue, or the cube is blue and is in front instead of on top. Or if you like to have two spheres and one cube, you might get three cubes or three spheres or zero cubes at all. That's because AI doesn't really understand semantically composition. And I think right now that's one of the biggest challenge to overcome, because if you think about it, artists are going to continue to use AI to be able to generate very specific things. They want to be able to get at some point what is in your ideas in front of your screen, right? That's the ultimate goal for AI art. It's not just, I want to dream something and it's vague and please entertain me. That's fun. That's very cool to play like that. But artists needs control over their creation. They need sliders. They need to be able to be precise. And that's why you see more and more tools coming with more complex user interfaces to be able to be more specific. But right now, it doesn't give you a lot of control over that. You have to use kind of tricks like in painting or adding a mask and like replacing content. The output is not instant. And that's one thing that it fails at right now. What is a breakthrough is, I think, the combination of different workflows and models, like being able to generate a lot of things in batch and having thousands of outputs. But because it's thousands and you want it fast, you do it in very low res. You get maybe 512 pixel maximum, not HD, not 4K. But then you combine that with a tool like Topaz Studio and Gigapixel, and you can increase to 4K any result. So having a pipeline in and a pipeline out with different softwares and AI tools that are very niche and good at specific tasks like upscaling or regenerating old photos that are grainy and removing the noise, or your face is on the perfect and symmetrical, you get an eye that is looking left and another that looks right. Maybe having face restoration algorithms that are very specific for that. That's where I think AI is getting better. And when we look at the most recent breakthrough of this week, for example, it's on things like Google Imagen that's going to come soon with text to video, being able to tell a story and write a prompt that is not just an image, but an entire camera movement, panning around, an object appears in the background, things like that, and being more specific about your output. We're starting to see that. I think Meta is coming out with us. There are tools called Make a Video, which are going to allow for that as well. And then soon, text to 3D, we're starting to see some SDF-based or diffusion-based models that are creating 3D models that at some point will be able to be outputted directly into Blender. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be something production ready you can use for movies and films. But there are already companies implementing some of those pipelines into their work. To answer your question, a lot of VFX artists right now are using AI for videos, making music videos. I think the first music video was done by Diane Ford, the South African group, and they use Stable Diffusion. You have VFX artists using AI for VFX to actually replace objects in the scene, or for image tracking, or for green screening and human keying. So it's actually being used in different, very, very different ways. And depending on the niche where it's really good at, people are starting to replace one or two of their tools with it to get a better overall output or a faster process.
Yeah, but I like what you said, like having control. Like that's the keyword that stand out for me. Because, for example, when you're preparing a campaign or you need to create an illustration set for a campaign for a company that needs to do like um, advertising, campaign, outdoor, digital, everything, the full mix, then you need to be consistent. You need to, for example, have that brand system in place, have that control. That's probably
Yeah.
not possible at this point and won't be so soon ish, I would say. Like,
Ish.
it's really hard to predict because these things happen so fast that I'm really starting to like worry sometimes where we'll find ourselves 12 months
Yes.
in 2023, 2024. um so yeah, and the way you mentioned the 3D models, that's something that touches my business as well.
Hmm.
Of course, like I'm a teacher, I'm a content creator. I try to inspire and teach people how to use vertices and edges and polygons to create something, to ideate. And there might be a little bit turned off by the fact that there is really really fast and simple solution to some of their problems, instead of like spending their time to actually learn the new skill. And yeah, I would be really um, it would be interesting to see how fast this goes. Like, give me
Yeah.
a giraffe, low poly giraffe under 500 faces. um if there's a tool that will give us like a really usable
Yeah.
production level result, because that's something that really will start to worry a lot of people, I think. But at the same time, like, um these things doesn't exist in a vacuum. So the way I look at it is like there will always be an interface. Like, you're the
Yeah.
artist, you're the creator, you have the intent, and there is a tool that has an interface. And for example, it might be, I call the mention of some new kind of blender being built, new branch basically, that would be more future proof in terms of AR, XR, use of AI, and stuff like that. So what I'm counting on, in a sense, is that there'll always be an interface for you as a creator, where you just plug in these tools, but you still need to have the skill. You still need to, you know, you still need to be able to ideate. You still need to be able to curate, to filter out, and to adjust, fix potential problems, and work with it within the pipeline. You need to know the pipeline. So no matter which part of the pipeline gets replaced, you kind of need to be there to be able to navigate
Yeah.
the creation process. So that's what I'm kind of counting on, that there will be always something new to learn and then to teach others. So if
I absolutely love
anybody's
what you're saying.
yeah, so if anybody's like worried, yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there for you.
Exactly.
We'll be showing the latest tools and trying to teach you stuff. um
And I think that's a great message that you're giving, Roman. That echoes a lot what Toon Rosendal is saying. So, the founder of Blender, they had the B Conf this week, which was the Blender conference,
yeah,
annual conference. And he was interviewed, I think, by one of the biggest YouTuber. I forgot his name right now, but the Donut series that everybody knows,
yeah,
Andrew,
and
I think.
Andrew Price,
Uh,
yeah, Blender Guru,
Andrew Price.
the one and only.
Um, Crazy that I forgot his name right now. So Andrew had this cool podcast where he interviewed Toon to ask him about the future of Blender, and he actually had a question around AI, and it was like, "Hey, should we be afraid of AI? Are you embracing AI at Blender? How are you looking at this whole thing?" And I think it's an interesting answer that he gave. He said that is not rushed by it. He knows that other companies are making tools and softwares right now, but he knows that we are still early. And his plan is that in the 5 next year, there might be another Blender version that will be probably a separate app that will be a little bit more uh, powerful than what the current Blender is, which is still evolving from the early Blender.
Oh,
And
so
that will
totally
include
separate, right?
a exactly like almost like a new video game that's coming out. Instead of being version 2, it's like a
Oh,
new
okay.
game from the same franchise. And he said that that new Blender is within the next 5 years, which is a freaking long time when you think about AI. That sounds like a long time. But he says it will include AI tools, powered tools, AR and VR support, web-based, multiplayer, things that we expect from nowadays tools like Figma, like Canvas, like Miro. So designers and 3D people using Spline are like, oh, why is Blender not on the web? Well, there's a reason for that, is that Blender is taking their time to do things properly. They don't necessarily just embrace new technologies, but also they also are working on some novel versions of those tools. So we need to be also patient and trust that within our current area of expertise, there are current early possibilities with AI, and we should feel free to explore them, understand them, but also not be afraid that all of a sudden everything that we learned is obsolete. I think there is still value in, for example, going through the entire Polygon Runway course, even though AI could allow you to generate 3D locally, because at some point, like you said, you still need control, and the interface might not be able to always give you the entire control that you want. And if you're working with a specific client or for an output project or something more complex, that lack of control that you get from AI might unserve you, might allow you to not be able to do something precise. And when those interface appears and you need to go and edit the model or make it more, I would say, adaptive to the platform that you're going to publish it on, being able to understand the context of vertices, being able to remap a UV
Yeah,
model,
sure.
being able to understand how to transfer your model from the tools to another, those are fundamental skills that you need in the future. And so I think AI can allow you to do things right now with Blender, like we did with the video we did together, where we can help, take your basic output into a more interesting image, or being able to have ideas on your composition and variations of your composition that can allow you to do a new scene. But then everything that you're learning from 3D, fundamental. It's important, and I think that it's not going to go away.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I think that like kind of wraps it up pretty great. Like I can see upcoming, months and years being excited about these new tools. When something comes out, I want to have it, I want to try it, I want to create something with it, and I want to share with the audience. I want to show them how I did something if they like it. So I think the use case is still there for everybody who is working in the creative field, because of course when you get really meta, in a sense that every process of the pipeline can be potentially replaced by AI, because this will be this omnipotent being that will basically just listen to the board of directors and create whole games for them. Yeah, that's true, like if you put it that way. But that's like a huge that's a science fiction thinking at this point, and will be even in 5 years, in my opinion. Like the full pipeline where you absolutely need no input um, from the creator, from the director.
Yeah.
And I really hope the thing that I just said will age well. If it doesn't, dear AI, I meant no offense. And
AI overload, please spare us.
yeah,
But you're
yeah.
right though.
We
Like
were
there might
we
be
were
games,
young.
there might be games created, in a sudden. But are they going to be great games? Are they going to have a story that
Yeah, sure.
relates to people, make them cry and feel powerful? Like that's where I think humans are good at, is empathy and storytelling. And yes, AI can create good stories too, but there will be copies of stories that already exist. So in a sense, we still have value in the process. That's my whole message, is let's understand how the tool works. Let's educate ourselves. Let's continue to follow people like you that can continue to help us stay on the edge of that technology, so that we can remain vigilant and adapt as it evolves.
Super cool. Yeah, and people like you, because I really hope you will create some more
Yes.
content for us. I'm really enjoying the stuff that you're making so far, and I would
Thank you.
love to see more. And I think everybody else would too. And if someone like wants to discuss this further, or talk these topics, as you mentioned before, we have a Discord now, and we're
Yes.
pretty active there. So you will find the link probably in the description, no matter the platform you're watching this on. So please come join us. We can even create like a whole channel dedicated to this stuff. Basically, if there's an interest, so come and join us. Let's talk through this. And if you're worried, if you have like concerns, let us know in the comments. Let us know in Discord. I think, and as Manu already explained, there's probably a way for you to adapt, to pivot, to make the best out of the new technology. So thank you, man, for doing this with me. I really enjoyed this, and I could go on and on and on about this, like trying to figure out what will the world of AI look like, but you have your time restrictions as well. So I think we'll wrap this up for now. Maybe if there's maybe if there is an interest, let us know. We can make another one, maybe more focused on some particular topic. So yeah, again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Roman. That was a great time, and yeah, I'm super happy to come back anytime to answer folks. Also, feel free to follow me on any platform at Manu.vision. I'm pretty fast at answering DMs. Instagram is probably the best place for that.
Cool. And yeah, absolutely. Like, you will find everything in the description. Make sure you follow Manuel on his channels. He does some amazing stuff. So yeah, that's what I would wrap up with. So thank you again for being here, and thank you all for watching and listening, and see you next time.
Thank you.